Welcome, everybody. I'm Rob Swerd, owner of Robart Electrical Services. Just a little bit of a history. Robart Electric has been around for over 35 years, and I've been teaching realtors and home inspectors in your offices and so forth for the last 12 years. And I've had a lot of fun building this system for you and coming to your offices and meeting a lot of you. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go over a lot of the residential electrical concerns that you guys run into on a daily basis, especially with the older homes. And we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about 60 amp services. We're going to talk about aluminum wiring, finished basements with no permits. That's things that you guys never come across. Legal suites. This one's important. Negotiations pending, and you need a quote. Inspectors found problems, black FPE breakers, ongoing support, and the newest thing, the library, which is incredible. I'm getting wonderful response back from everybody regarding that. But let's start off with our 60 amp services. 60 amps was prevalent up until about 1964, 65, 66 is when they started getting changed out. Now, what it meant is the incoming power from EPCOR in the city of Edmonton was a 60 amp service. And today, probably about 7-8 years ago, the insurance companies had decided that they wanted to protect themselves. So they're now asking for 100 amp services to be in place. Before we get into identifying the service, I want to talk to you slightly about this. When you go and you find a 60 amp electrical service and you're looking to buy an older home, there's a lot of insurance companies out there who are refusing to give you insurance unless it's upgraded to 100 amps.
I forgot that they had that Zoom meeting today.
Sorry, what was that? Sorry. Yeah, no, insurance companies, they give you, some give you 90 days to get this done. Some of them will refuse to give you insurance, and some of them will charge an extra high premium in order to insure a 60 amp service. But those places are very rare. Now, the thing is, I found out if it's not insurable, you can't get a mortgage. So the mortgage brokers cannot give you a mortgage. So this is very, very important on the older homes. But let's go through this and let's start looking at this. Insurance company concerns, identification of a 60 amp service. And let's look at that. You've got electrical panels, usually by the back door, above the 3 stairs going up to the kitchen, or behind the door in the back entry. What you're looking for today is a 100 amp main breaker. That will be located at the top of the panel. You can see by the arrows, that's where the 100 amp should be. But in these cases, it's not. Now, how do you determine if it's a 100 amp breaker? On the end of the electrical handle is a number. The one on the left says 100. The one on the right says 60. 100 amp breakers were not used and put into homes till about 1965, 66. About 1962, 63, they started coming out with 60 amp breakers. But that's what you're looking for. That's one of the 3 things. And we're going to be going over that shortly. But this is how you identify the size of the breaker. Now, a lot of years ago, probably about 8-10 years ago, one thing I was getting a lot of response from realtors about are these stickers on the electrical panel. You can see that the one on the left says 100 amp max. The one on the right says 100 amp. All this is, guys, this is the
You're being held hostage? Not us, other people. I'm calling back now. I'll conference you in.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Hey, Rob, you're muted.
Rob, you're muted.
leaving early?
Yeah, I got tickets to the basketball.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just gonna catch up on some dialect.
Oh, for heaven's
That's
sake.
Great. Good luck to you.
Okay, I just did. Okay, sorry, guys. There's three things that you're looking for when you come up to a house. And the first one was the 100 amp main breaker. The second one are the overhead lines coming from the alley. These overhead lines, they are all 100 amp rated. I got a call from a realtor and she says to me, she says, Rob, my homeowner called EPCOR and came back to me and said that you were lying to them. I says, what are you talking about? EPCOR told her that the service coming into her house was 100 amps, which is absolutely true because the piece of wire coming from the pole to the house is 100 amp rated. But at the house is where things change.
It's
So just
interesting.
keep that in mind. Now, one more item we're going to point out about services. If the wires are coming underground, it will be a 100 amp service. There's no problem.
You can't see it.
Oh, I got a question from somebody, from Patrick. Could we review issue with stickers that say 100 amp rated again, please? Instructor was muted at, oh, okay. What this is, guys, let me back up. I can back up. No, that's okay. Let me go over this again. We don't need the stickers. On the electrical panel are stickers, usually right by the breakers. What this is, Patrick, and for everybody else, this is the manufacturer's rating of that piece of equipment. It's not the size of the electrical service. So if it says 100 amp or 100 amp rating, that is for that piece of equipment. There are three things you're looking for when you arrive at a house and you need to determine if it's a 60 amp service. First of all, you need a 100 amp main breaker. That's what we talked about, and you can see how to identify that. The second thing is the mast. And the picture that you're seeing now, the one on the left, that is a weatherhead with the wires connected to it directly above the meter socket. That one is fairly low on the wall. The picture on the right is right underneath the soffits. The height requirement for the weatherhead is 12'4". So if it's under the soffits, it's not 12'4". So that is an original installation. The third thing you're looking for is the meter socket, is what it's called. And the socket is the metal box that the glass meter plugs into. First thing was the 100 amp breaker. Second thing was the height of the mast. Third thing is the meter socket. You can see the one on the left and the one on the right are round metal boxes. Those are considered by EPCOR in the city of Edmonton as being 60 amp rated. The one in the center, this one's a little odd. The one in the center was usually used in porches when there was a porch extension on the back of the house. But this is also a 60 amp rating. I created this document and you can get it from me. I think it's on the library or else just email me and I'll send it to you. It's a document that most realtors were handed out and that most realtors received when I was doing my courses in-house. What this is at the top left-hand side, it starts talking and it says the main panel part A. The main panel has no main breaker. Insurance companies say that it's unacceptable. The one underneath it, the gray panel on the left, that has a 100 amp breaker. That's what you're looking for. The middle pictures show the round meter socket in the top, and below it, it's a square or rectangular meter socket. There we go. It's a square or rectangular meter socket. Those were rated for 100 amp when they were put in, which is the late 50s and early 60s. But the thing is, they're not acceptable by EPCOR or the city of Edmonton. So you're to consider them to be 60 amp. On the far right-hand side, we're looking at the masts. The top corner picture on the right-hand side, you can see once again that it's underneath the soffits. That's where the originals were put. And then the other one below it in the bottom right, that is above the roof. That's acceptable. So the three things you're looking for to identify if it's a 60 amp service are a 100 amp main breaker, the height of the mast, and the size and shape of the meter socket. Okay, does anybody have any questions or anything on the identification? The identification is really, really important that you know this before you go too far with the listing. Okay. Okay, things to remember to tell you. 100 amp service coming from the alley. We talked about that already. That since the late 30s, early 40s, they're always 100 amp coming from the alley. Panel change, but not the rest. Let me tell you something about that. You can go into a house and you can see that there is a 100 amp panel downstairs with a 100 amp breaker, but you go outside and the mast is still underneath the soffits, and the weather and the meter socket is round. The reason for that is there was a number of years that the city of Edmonton would allow electrical contractors to go in and change the panel, but not change anything outside. So everything outside is 60, but the panel itself is a 100 amp rated with a 100 amp main breaker. So that's something you've got to be very, very careful of. Okay, measurement to your feet. Now, the height of a meter socket is 5 foot to 5'6" to the middle of the glass. Now, a lot of realtors were asking me, well, Rob, we've got places where they built a deck that's 3 feet off the ground. Where am I measuring from to determine if this is the proper height? Do I go from the ground below the deck, or do I go from the deck where my feet are? The answer to that question is you go from your feet. So if you're standing on the deck, the proper height of that meter has to be 5 foot to 5'6" to the center from where your feet are. Okay. Oh, another question. Hang on, admit. What does the question say? I've seen a square meter socket with the mast below the roof line. What would that be? What this is, like I say, in about 1958, 59, 60, 61, they started coming out with square or small rectangular meter sockets, the boxes. And all that is back then, the box was rated for 100 amp, but today the insurance companies, EPCOR, and the city of Edmonton do not accept that as being part of a 100 amp service because it's unsafe, according to them. I hope that answers your question. Those need to be replaced. Okay, EPCOR takes too long and you need help. This is something we're going to talk about a little bit further on, so I'm not going to bother with it. All underground electrical services are 100 amp rated, okay? 100 amp identification is very, very important. There's a huge amount of explanation that goes with what's happening today in the industry and so forth, but I'm going to do that at another time on another separate podcast, talking about the requirements, and what it will be referring to is isolated neutral, but that's another story. Aluminum wiring. Let's talk about aluminum wiring. This is something that was prevalent.
Go on.
This was something that was prevalent 1968 to 75, give or take a year. So if you walk into a house and it's of that age, first thing you should do is be concerned that there's possibly aluminum wiring. Now, what's the problem with aluminum wiring? A number of years ago, home inspectors were going in and they were scaring clients away by telling them, oh my God, it's aluminum wiring, run, because you've got to open all the walls, pull out all the wiring and change it to copper. Well, that's not the case. And a lot of realtors got really peed off about that. What the problem is it's called cold flow. Cold flow is the compression of aluminum under a screw. And it's important to know this, the compression of aluminum under a screw. Because if you remember back in high school, we were taught that if you put copper and aluminum together, they will oxidize. So that's another problem we're going to talk about right away. Cold flow is the compression of aluminum under a screw. So where does this happen? This happens on the side of a plug or a switch in the home. But realtors ask me, what about the light fixtures? Do we have to be concerned with light fixtures? And the answer is no, because the insurance companies and the city of Edmonton and the Canadian code don't feel that light fixtures are a concern because they don't draw enough power. Okay, I'm going to take a breath for a moment, give you guys you guys a moment to think about that. Let's go back to cold flow. How do we prevent or reduce or eliminate the risk of fire? It's called pigtailing. Now, yes, you can go and Google correction for aluminum wiring. There's 4 things that are out there, and I'm not going to go over them now. Go and find out for yourself. But the only one that's legit, that isn't a promo from a manufacturer, is what's called pigtailing. Pigtailing, you can see in the bottom picture on the left, is where we take a piece of copper wire, attach it to the piece of aluminum. And there's a very specific way of doing that to make it safe. We attach it to the piece of aluminum, and then the piece of copper goes onto the plug or the switch. So now we've reduced or eliminated the compression of aluminum under a screw. That's how we got rid of that. Now, a couple of things I want to tell you about. Well, I mentioned the words very specific. If you look in the bottom, if you look in the bottom right-hand corner on your page, what we've got,
Hold on.
sorry, what we've got is a picture of something I found. I had a realtor call me up. She says, Rob, I've got these wonderful people, clients, looking at a 1972 house, and the inspector found aluminum wiring. And the homeowner said, oh, no, chikai, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Uncle Dave was here 2 weeks ago, and he pigtailed everything. Well, okay. The realtor and the buyers were a bit skeptical about this, so they called me up and said, Rob, can you come down and take a look at this and verify that this was done? So I went down and I used a thing called thermography, which is a camera that senses heat. What that bottom right-hand picture is at the back door were 3 switches. I put my camera onto the 3 switches, and the middle switch was very hot. So I opened up the switches, I took them out and took a look. This is what I found behind the switches 2 weeks after Uncle Dave was there doing pigtailing. Okay, so what I'm trying to explain to you is there's so many ways to do pigtailing, but there's only one correct way. This is the wrong way. This is what causes fires. Okay. Now, let's talk about the picture in the top right-hand corner. I got a call from a homeowner who says, Rob, I smell something burning in my basement. Can you come take a look? So I said, sure. So I went down there and I looked on this big wall in the rumpus room. There was a receptacle over there and a receptacle over there with a bookcase in the middle. So I said to the guy, is there a plug-in behind the bookcase? And he says, I don't know, let's go see. So we went and we moved the bookcase, and that is what we found behind the bookcase, the picture in the top right-hand corner. What had happened was the cold flow started happening. It started overheating, it melted the plug, it melted the wires, and it caught fire to the paper on the drywall. That is the beginning of a house fire. Yeah. So this whole thing with cold flow is very, very serious, something you should pay attention to. And somebody out there is going to ask me the question, how much does it cost to do pigtailing? The quick answer for you to use with your clients is about $1 a square foot, starting at $1,625 plus an electrical permit. So if you've got a 1,000 square foot house, it's $1,625. If you've got an 1,800 square foot house, you can pretty well figure it's going to be $1,800. So that's a number that you can use with your clients. Let's move on a little bit. We opened up an electrical panel, which is something we always do when we do pigtailing. And this is what we found in the electrical panel. Whoever put these things in didn't tighten them when they put them in. So they started to arc under the screws. And this started overheating the wiring and started melting. This is the beginning of a very, very serious fire. Okay, everybody can see that? Thermography. This is what I see when I use my heat sensitive camera to look at plugs and switches. This is an indication of a heat source behind the, in this case, behind the Decorah plug. This was aluminum wiring, and we did find burnt wiring behind this. This was, like it says, 3 weeks after the renovation was done. Okay, any questions on the aluminum? This is something we can get into lengthy discussions about, the seriousness and how to fix it and so forth. But if not, let's move on to finished basements with no permits. You guys never come across finished basements with no permits. That's about 95% of the basements out there. So now let me try and condense this so I'm not talking for an hour and a half. Can you get an electrical permit for a finished basement? Is the question that always comes up. So the answer is this. The homeowner can normally take out an electrical permit to do their own basement. In a case of a finished basement, the homeowner cannot take out a permit because a homeowner requires 2 inspections. They require an inspection for what's called the rough-in, and they require an inspection for what's called finishing. Rough-in is prior to drywall. And in a finished basement, you can't do that inspection. So the homeowner can't take out a permit. But can a permit be taken out? Yes. Me as a master electrician, I can take out a permit because I'm only required 1 inspection, which can be the final. But now I'm going to quickly explain what the problem is with this. If I take out a permit and that basement was done 10 years ago, it will not pass today's inspection. So that means that when an inspector comes down to check my permit, it's going to fail. So what has to happen if you got a buyer that demands an electrical permit, otherwise he's not moving forward? This is what needs to happen. I need to come down, do an investigation and inspection of the basement to determine what is wrong with it compared to today's code. I got to generate a quotation so that you guys can give it to the buyer or the seller to determine what it's going to cost to bring it up to today's code. The work must be done, and then the inspector can come down and take a look. That's the only way you're going to get it done. But in most cases, the repairs and that sort of stuff are quite expensive. We're talking arc fault protection, we're talking smoke alarms, and all that sort of.
But he's also very committed to the idea of the filibuster. But the concept that he's committed to is the idea that you're forcing bipartisan support. That theory doesn't work if the other side just says no. If the other side said, okay, we're going to withhold the votes, then we're going to have a negotiation, come to some kind of settlement, some kind of agreement. That's
Sorry, guys, is that better? You go down to the city of Edmonton, you take out a building permit for basements, hot tubs, car chargers, that sort of thing. The city of Edmonton forces the homeowner to take out an electrical permit. They pay for it on the spot. Now, what happens is when they pay for it, they've got to assign an electrical contractor that's going to be doing the work. I think it's a money grab that the city is doing to ensure the permits are taken out and inspections are done. But that's what's happening today. We are constantly hearing changes coming from the city. So if you guys got any questions with anything regarding residential electrical, you all have my phone number. Okay, let's move on and take a look at this. Negotiations are pending. Did we miss one? No, negotiations are pending and you need a quote now. There was a realtor that called me on a Saturday morning. And he says to me, he says, Rob, I'm going into, the inspector was just here. He found a 60 amp service and I'm going into negotiations at 1 o'clock. I need you to come down right now and give me a quotation for this electrical service upgrade. And I said, well, it's Saturday morning. I'm going to hockey with my grandkids. I can't do it right now, but Chikai, let me help you out. So what I did was I sat down at the computer and I got down the client's name, the address, information and so forth. And I created what today is known as a quick quote. What that is, you can see on the right-hand side is an example of it. And what that is, it's my letterhead, scope of work with a dollar value. Now, the thing is this. What I do at the dollar value is I put down a range between two numbers. And I guarantee that once I come out and do an inspection, the total will be between those two numbers. So what you can do is you can take the quick quote, go into negotiations, sell the property, get your signatures, and then somebody needs to come back to me and say, I accept the quotation. Once the quotation is accepted, I meet with you, I come out to site, and we do a visual where I can take pictures and measurements and that sort of thing. But this was designed specifically for you going into negotiations. Okay, any questions? Good, okay. So let's move on. What else? Live view, okay. When it comes time to do, no, I don't think so. Oops. No, I'm good. You guys can all hear me. I'm good.
Someone says.
I fixed it.
Okay.
Guys, let's go over this again. This is a tool you guys should really know about. Quick quotes are done where I send you a piece of paper with a range of numbers. A lot of realtors came back to me and says, Rob, I'm not really happy with that because it's awkward going into negotiations and having to deal with these two numbers. Can we do something else? So about 4 years ago, I says, are you on site with the inspector? And they said, yes. I said, let's do FaceTime. Let's do Google Duo. Show me what you've got and I will be able to take notes and figure out what's going on. And I'll be able to send you a quote with an exact dollar value. So this is how we eliminated that range of dollars on the quick quote. So what we did was we go in and we do real-time video while you're on site. But please text me, which is the best, and give me some notice that you want to do this. Because if I'm on the hen day, I'm not going to be looking at my phone. Well, I better not say that I do, but I'm not going to be looking at my phone trying to figure out what's going on. Give me 5-10 minutes notice so I can pull over to the side of the road and we can do FaceTime or Google Duo. Okay. I've gotten quotes out in as little as 8 minutes because once we do this, I go to my templates, I create the quote and I send it off to you. It's a beautiful tool that works great to help you move forward with your sale. Everybody's okay with this? Good. Now, just talking about the quick quotes, this is a realistic quick quote because it does give you the scope of work and everything from my past experience. In 24 months, Robart Electric did over 250 service upgrades. We are the highest producers in the city of Edmonton for both 60 amp services and aluminum wiring. So when you speak with your clients about calling somebody in, you can tell them that he comes with a little bit of experience. Let's talk about inspectors found electrical problems. What I've done and what I've come across a lot of times are these type of problems. The inspectors go in and they find things like double tapping. And what double tapping is 2 wires under 1 breaker. That's very dangerous. because of overheating and fires. They find things like burnt wires because of aluminum. They find minor things like missing covers, wrong breaker size, and there's a big story behind wrong breaker size, missing smoke alarms, illegal service work. That's a picture coming up that we're going to be talking about right away. Illegal service work, aluminum wiring that they find, and of course, something that's slowly drifting away is knob and tube wiring. Knob and tube wiring was around in the 40s, in the 30s, in the 20s, but we're finding it very rarely today, usually downtown in the older areas. But let's talk about what happens with the inspectors. If you get an inspector's report and it says he's found a bunch of problems, contact me, send me a copy of the report. I can go through the report at my desk and I can list all the things that the inspector found regarding electrical, and I can generate a quotation, for you to give to your buyer to determine what it's going to take to fix the problems. That's another tool that you've got at your disposal. And by the way, I don't charge for this service. I've been doing this for 12 years now, and it seems to work beautifully. Utilize it, please. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about FPE black breakers. If you go and Google Federal Pioneer or FPE stab lock or black breakers, you're going to find hundreds of stories about why you should be concerned. First of all, the black breakers, and you can see in this picture, the bottom row is full of breakers with black bodies. In the top row, there's 4 breakers that have white bodies. This is the difference. The black ones are the ones you're concerned with, okay? What the problem with them is, they're all CSA approved. So when they were put in, there was absolutely nothing wrong with them. And there's millions of them in existence all through Canada and the States. The problem with them is this: if they're overloaded, a lot of them may not turn off or trip. And what that's causing is fires. The insurance companies are very aware of this and they're starting to take action against it. But it causes fires. There has not been a recall because there's millions and millions of them. So they're not going to do it. So what is the way of getting around this? You need to replace them, the black ones, with the new white-bodied breakers. Now, November last year, Federal Pioneer, FPE, shut down the factory in Mexico because of COVID. We have not been able to get any brand new breakers from FPE. So it's very, very rare. We cannot go in and change out the black breakers for white ones at this present time because they're just not available, okay? With us doing so many service upgrades, we're taking out these old panels, putting in new Siemens panels, and these white breakers I'm retaining to use as necessary. So I do have a stock of them, but you can't buy them anywhere. Okay. Any questions on the FPEs? Robart tools. Okay, this was designed specifically for you. And this stuff was finished probably about 6-7 years ago. And since then, I have not been approached with a need for anything else. So this seems to be working. FaceTime quotes is the best thing today that we can do to get you an exact number for work that you need done around the client's house. Utilize it. Give me some notice. Sending in pictures for a quotation. This is another way of doing it. If you've got a problem with your phone, you don't want to use data or whatever the case may be, call me. I'll instruct you as to how to take pictures and what to take pictures of. You can submit the pictures to me and we will create a quotation based on the pictures and send it off to you. Everything that I've got set up is based on helping you make that sale. That's what this is for. You're not electricians, guys. You don't need to know this stuff. You've got me. Okay, inspectors PDF. Send me the reports. Let me take a look. Letters for the buyers, insurance and mortgage. This is something I did years ago that is incredible. If you have a buyer who finds a 60 amp electrical service. I send you a quotation. The buyer accepts the quote or the seller. We approach EPCOR and say, when's your next available date to come in and do the service upgrade? If the upgrade is only possible after possession, for instance, last year, EPCOR was booking 7 weeks in advance. Right now it's 3, but they were booking 7 weeks in advance. So sometimes on a quick turnaround, it was after the possession date. So what we created was a letter for the buyer's insurance and mortgage. What this is it says Robart Electric and the buyer have entered into a contractual agreement for the upgrading of the 60 amp electrical service. This will be done on such and such a date as per EPCOR's schedule. This letter you give to the insurance company and to the brokers, because like we talked about in the beginning, an insurance company may not offer insurance. And if the house is not insurable, the broker cannot give your buyer a mortgage. So this letter is a beautiful tool for your buyers. And this is something I give you for free to say thank you. Let's move on and take a look and see what's next. Inspection services. Okay, this is what we were talking about. Now, no, this is different. This isn't inspectors. This is Robart Electric. At Robart Electric, we have the ability to come out and help your buyers or sellers by providing an inspection service. What we come out and look for is determining if it's aluminum wiring or not. If there's a basement with no permit, sometimes the buyers say, well, you know, I don't want it because there's no permit. What we've been doing a lot of over the years, guys, is we've been having sellers bring us in. We go in and do an investigation of the electrical in the basement. What we're looking for is safety concerns because it is not going to meet today's code. So what we're doing is we're looking for safety concerns. We will generate a report that you can give to the buyer. This is usually sufficient to satisfy the buyer regarding the safety of the basement because they want to move their family in and they want to know that the basement is safe. Not only is it up to code, because that doesn't matter. They want safety. And this is one of the things that Robart Electric can do. What's the cost of this? The inspection report and inspection and report is $285 plus tax. Illegal service upgrades. If you've got any concerns about services and you're concerned about something that doesn't look right, call us up. We can FaceTime, we can take pictures, we can come out to site and take a look and help your buyers make decisions. That's part of the inspection service. Consultation for your clients. Over the past 12 years, I've been offering this, but I've only had to do it twice. This is where you've got clients, especially with aluminum wiring. You know, your clients come in the beautiful 1974 house, but it's got aluminum wiring. So now they're all freaked because they don't want to buy it because of the aluminum. So they're scared. Call me up. I will come out and meet with your clients and explain everything about aluminum wiring, how there's nothing wrong with the wiring. It's only a matter of pigtailing. So this is what I can do for you. And I don't charge for this. If we're meeting at a Tim Hortons, I'll expect a tea is what I'll expect. That's about it. Let's take a look. The library. One of the biggest concerns I've always heard from realtors over the 12 years is this. You get a client who finds out that there's aluminum wiring. The first thing they do is come back to their trusted realtor and ask the question, okay, now what? Well, realtors have told me over the years, they feel very, very uncomfortable answering questions about aluminum wiring, about electrical service upgrades, and all these sort of things. You guys aren't electricians. You don't need to know this. So what I've done is I've created the library. Now let's take a look at this. Let's go ahead.
Cool. Yeah, good.
Okay, back up. Sorry guys, Is it gonna go? No, okay, sorry. The library, I just skipped the page that you're gonna see when you go there. What the library is, it's a place where you can go and it's gonna show you a video at the beginning telling you what the library is all about. What happens next is you go in and you say, tell me what your name is. Hi, I'm Rob. I'll go through the library with you. Before you get started, tell me your name. My name is Rob. Let's get started. It's going to ask the question, are you a home seller, a home buyer, a realtor, or an inspector? Is what it's going to ask you. I click now. Okay.
And then click again for the animation.
Okay. The next page you're going to see is this. Hi, nice to meet you. Let's get started solving your electrical issues. You're going to choose, for instance, home seller, and it's going to say that you're selling a home. It's going through rather quick, not a problem. Oh, well, technical glitch. Let me tell you what happens. The library will say to you, okay, you're a home buyer. What sort of thing are you looking for? You're going to get a drop down with a bunch of things that say, my home inspector just found aluminum wiring. Should I be concerned? I found a 60 amp service. What's happening next? It gives you options like this. You click on it and you can see the bottom part of a PDF that is available for you to download. It will be information that I've written for newspapers and magazines over the years, and now you have access to it. And it asks, would you like to download the document? Yes, please. So download. And were you able to successfully download? You say, yes, I have the document. And it comes back and it says, great. For sure, you'll find the document to be helpful, blah, blah, blah. And it goes through and it asks you again, is there anything else you need? And you can put down, and if you say yes, you need something else, it will direct you to a place where you can go and take out, write me a note. It comes to my desk in my office. Let's say that you want to find out about hot tubs. What's happening when a client wants a hot tub or a car charger? Those things are just being put on to the library now, but you can get a hold of me and there's tons of information about that sort of thing. Okay. But this library is invaluable for you to share with your clients because you can relinquish the responsibility of having to answer these questions. That's what this is for. And it's available 24 hours a day for you to use. And all you got to do is go to robartelectric.com, and in the top right-hand corner, one of the drop downs is the library. Go and try it, see what you think. Robart Electric has created the tools to help you close the deal, and they're all waiting here for you. If you guys have any questions or anything, please call me. You've got my number, you've got everything you need. And if you need any additional information, please either go to the library or get a hold of me direct. But we've come to the end of our presentation. Guys, please send me your email by email and so forth, and your cell number. I'll put you in my contact list because we are not constantly, I'd never do that. Once in a while, we send out messages telling you about changes that the city has made that you need to know about regarding residential electrical. And these are just little reminders and little things about upcoming events. But coming very soon, I'm going to be doing individual topics, for instance, like car chargers, hot tubs, building permits, electrical permits, that sort of thing. I'll be doing these coming up, but the notices will be going out on Facebook and emails and that sort of thing. So please watch for them. I want to thank all of you for coming and spending some time with me. I hope you got some knowledge out of this. I hope you got an understanding of the tools that are available and about the library. And again, if you've got any questions or anything, please get back to me by email or phone. Have a wonderful day, everybody. I'm Rob Swerd, owner of Robart Electrical Services.